Hey, this is Dr. A, and today I'm just going to walk you through how to do a little bit of this programming stuff on a Mac. I have Mac open, and I have some instructions that I've written on how to get this set up to do a little bit of database work. Now, to start with, I have downloaded and run a Docker image already. So if you haven't done that, you need to go to Docker Hub and download that Docker image for the Microsoft SQL. They have excellent instructions there. Make sure to read them and follow them, and you should be able to test and make sure that your Docker is running. Now you can do that right here from Visual Studio Code. So if I just open up a file, I'm going to open up a file that I've already done, namely in tests, a test document here, and I think this is in Docker, and I have oh yeah, I guess I didn't say to open a file, did I? Let's go to File, Open. That was probably on QuickTime. And I'm going to go back here to my Docker, and here's my SQL test. I'll just open that up. And I've already got a SQL connection running here. And I can do a Command-Shift-P to do a MSQL connect. And source SQL extension. Execute command while while the extension is initializing. Please try again later. Okay, well, I'll try again later. It should actually come up. It's done now, but it just took that long. It's disconnected. I should be able to just click there and select my Docker SQL. At this point, if I want to say use university small, which is one of the ones that I have here, and you Command-Shift execute, it will switch databases to university small, and eventually it'll come up and give me some results. So the next thing I'm going to do is do a select star from student. Okay, so while I was typing that, that command completed successfully, and if I do Command-Shift execute on this one, which should take a little bit less time, although I'm not guaranteeing that at this point, it should run and give me a list of students. So there it is, and we have the 13 students. Okay, so I have something up and running. That's Docker running on a local host, and I'm not even going to hide the password and everything from you because it's not a secure password. So let me go ahead and close this. We've got it running. Sure, I don't care if I save that. So one of the first things you need to do is download and install the latest version of DotNetCore. Now for this demo, I'm using 2.2.104, which is the current stable release of 2.2. And you need to run a at the console, and some of the stuff does happen at the console. I'm going to create myself a new DB demo. So in order to do that, I'm just here in my directory, and I'm going to say .NET new console application -o, and I want this to be in DB demo. Okay, so that'll actually create a new console application in a folder called DB demo. And as soon as it gets done with that, it'll go through the restore process here, which is basically going to create the CS proj and everything. And when I get done, I should have a DB demo. Okay, so when I look at that, I have all of these things there. So I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to say, hey, I want to open a folder, and I'm going to go ahead and open up my DB demo folder. And when I do that, it'll reset everything, unfortunately, and I'll probably have to reopen that one file. But now I can see that I have the the program.cs, which is right here, and the project file if I want to. Now the project file has almost nothing in it. It says an output type exe. It says not NetCore app 2.2, so we know what we're running. But other than that, we haven't really done anything. So going back to that recent file, I do want that one open. The next thing I need to do is change directory into that, which I've already done. And then I need to do the following things, which I give you a link here if you want to see where I got this from. You're welcome to go back and look at that. So I'm executing first. I'm just going to kind of move this down. I'm executing this line right here. And so I'm going to do a .NET add package Microsoft .EntityFramework core.design. Okay, and I'm going to just add that to the current package. I'm going to add that package to the current project, and it's going to add it to the project in the folder that I'm in. Okay, so it's going to go through. This is essentially the equivalent of getting a NuGet package in Visual Studio, and it's going to go through and execute all of those things. And the next thing I'm going to do is to do a little bit of testing. So B and C sort of happen together here, and so I'm going to do a .NET restore. Okay, and that won't take very long. It's just going to go through and essentially do what it did here already. You shouldn't have to do the .NET restore, but I'm going to do it anyway. And the next thing is going to do a .NET Entity Framework, or EF, and it should just give me the output. Okay, it should just give me this output here saying, hey, it's here. You haven't asked me to really do anything, but we're ready to go. All right, so at this point I'm going to switch to doing things below my screen. So if you'll look down here, I said, okay, we're now ready to connect the database. I'm going to connect to the university database running on Docker. So that's going to be on localhost, and I'm going to, which is forwarded to the Docker image on port 1433. So we're not quite ready. There is one more package that I have to add to get this scaffolding to work, because I'm going to be accessing SQL Server. So I need to do this .NET add, and I shouldn't have to do the db demo.csproj, so I'm going to try it without that package. Microsoft .EntityFramework core.sql server. Now I'm going to make sure I did that right. This is Microsoft.EntityFramework core.sql server. So we'll try and do that. If it gives me an error, then I will add the project name to it. But I think it's going to do it okay. And there it goes. Now the nice thing about this is when I go back over here and look at this project file, you'll notice that there are some things in it that didn't used to be. Namely, there is a Microsoft Entity Framework core.design and a Microsoft Entity Framework core.sql server, and they're both 2.2.2. So in order to get the scaffolding to work, I'm going to go back over here, pull this up, and I am doing this here in command prompt, but we'll traverse over in just a minute and do the rest of it, not from the command prompt, but within. Okay, you'll notice that this has come up and said required assets to build and debug are missing from DB demo. Add them, and I can do yes. I'm just going to say yes. Okay. So if it gives you that kind of thing, you should be able to go back and say yes. So let's do the .NET Entity Framework, and we're going to create ourselves something called DB context, and I have to give it a server connection string. So in this case, I'm going to do server equals localhost semicolon database equals university small, and the user ID is equal to SA on this Docker image, and the password is equal to constraint databases to semicolon quotes, and then I need to say I want to use the Microsoft EntityFramework core .sql server, and I'm going to output this into a new folder called models. So if I type this correctly, this should go forth and scaffold all of that information for me, and it's going to totally add a bunch of stuff to my project. And so it should be working. Let me see if I'm thinking about all of that stuff correctly. I got .NET EF DB context server equals localhost, database equals university small, user ID equals SA, password equals constraint DB. Semicolon, we've got the Microsoft.EntityFramework core.SQL server dash out models. Okay, should work. We'll give it a moment here. Hello, computer. It's taking a little bit here. Oh, I didn't like it, so let me make sure that I've got this typed right by just highlighting this entire line, copying it, and pasting it on here to make sure I got it right. Does appear to be different, doesn't it? Scaffold, da 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 da. Yeah, it does look like it needs to. .NET EF DB context. Oh, I missed the word scaffold last time. Of course, that would be a problem. You probably have seen that already, so it's going to take it just a minute or two here. Okay, now it ended. It didn't give me any errors, and lo and behold, there is now a models directory here, and it has a bunch of stuff in it. So at this point now, I'm going to go back over to here, and I'm going to go ahead and close this because I'm done at this point. If you want to, you can go over to your debug, and at this point, I'm going to go ahead and close this because I'm done with this. I should be able to, if I go to my folders here, look at my program. So I need to do this. Right now, all it's going to do is do this hello world stuff. So we're going to go to debug, and we're going to run it. And running it is going to take a little bit, but it's also going to, notice it's going to do the .NET build, and it'll go through that process. And by the way, this gives you very verbose output for everything here. And it'll take it a little while. This is where you get to go and play ping pong, right? Okay, it'll be used by build succeeded. Other little copyright warning, essentially, or patent warning, or whatever you want to call it. And then it tells you all the stuff that it loaded, and then it runs. Hello world. So that wasn't very useful, so let's change it. And in order to change it, I'm going to do a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to say using, and I've got to do models. But I can't just do that. I have to do db_demo.models. Okay? And at that point, I should be able to go, by the way, if I want to switch back over here, I can look at models. There it is. And I can say, what is this thing that I'm going to be using? Well, it's going to be university small context. So I need to go in here and say university small context equals new university small context. And then instead of doing this, let's just say we're going to do var table equals context dot student, and this is where I would hope that I would have some information here, but it's not getting the IntelliSense the way I would like it. And so maybe what I'll do is just go over here and build it again. Please start a debug session to evaluate expressions, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to go back over here, and I'm just going to say .NET build and see if it'll build it here. Build a specified project or solution. Okay, .NET build DB demo. Am I in the wrong place? Yes, I am. I needed to be up, and there's no project folder in there, so that's why it gave me that error. DB build, no, .NET build, and I don't have to specify it here because there is a project file in this folder. And it's going to go ahead and build it. Okay, 0 warnings, 0 errors. So I'm going to say for each var t in table, or r in table, let's go with row in table. All right. And we're going to say console.write line, and I'm going to do this very much like what I did in class, by just getting a comma separated list of things to print. Okay, and I'll just put in r.id, r.name, r.depth name, and r.tote cred. Now, I don't know for sure that all of this stuff is what I just typed, but I could go in here and look at student to find out. And indeed, it does have an ID, department name, and a tote cred. Okay, so those are the things that I would expect to find in there. Let's put a semicolon at the end of that line. And I can go to debug here, and I can start without debugging, or I can do install additional debuggers. Let's just start without debugging. So it's going to build it first, of course, and then it's going to run it. Now it gives me one warning, but that has to do with the fact that I should move my, it says, oh, hey, you should move the name out of or your password out of the project. But for this project, I don't care, so I'm not going to worry about that. So there we go. I actually was able to write this in a way that is working. And if I wanted to do some additional things up here, I probably could do that at this point. Type the namespace. Type or namespace name user could not be found. Are you missing a directive or reference, assembly reference? I don't think I am, but let's go look and see. Let's go back to student over here. It looks like I'm using DB models, and everything seems to be working there. I'm not exactly sure why it did this to me, but it is giving me some sort of errors, and it is giving me some if I remove this unnecessary using, I know that's not going to work. So let's save that just for kicks. I'll do it. I know this is not going to work, but .NET build should give me an error pretty quickly because university small context is not going to be there. So you can see this is much more involved with a terminal. And yeah, indeed, I got a build failed. The namespace university small context cannot be found. Are you missing a using directive? Yes, I'm missing a using directive. So I should be able to go up here, and it should say, oh, no. I should be able to just say using namespace, using db demo dot. No. University small context? Nope. What was it? I had it there a second ago, but I can go back and look it up here. Models, of course. Models. Okay. So let's save that. I wish there was a way for me to actually go through and figure out why it's not getting this, but it doesn't appear to be. It might be because I don't have that in the project file. So if I figure out a way to do that, I'll let you know. But at this point, I don't want to spend too much time on it. Project reference includes all of that stuff. So I don't think I need to worry about that. All right, so there you go. It is working. If I figure out that extra little